Welcome to the Microsoft 365 Business Technical Fundamentals series. In this video, we'll be focusing on Windows 10 deployment options. We now have more ways than ever to get a Windows 10 PC ready for use. Autopilot allows an OEM Windows 10 Pro device to be pre-enrolled with Microsoft 365 Business, allowing an easy self-service deployment for the end user. Upgrading in place maintains existing apps, data and settings, and the third option we have, traditional wipe and reload, well, this can be used if necessary, but would usually only be recommended if no other option was available. Autopilot works as part of Microsoft 365 to automatically make a device work ready upon the first boot. The end user only needs to provide their work credentials during the PC's out-of-box experience. This is a user-driven experience, without the device necessarily having to go through the hands of IT. After the user provides their credentials, the required policies, profiles, and applications can be deployed directly from the cloud. Depending on the number of PCs that need to be upgraded, you could either do manual upgrades using the downloadable ISO files, or alternatively you could use additional tools to help you with more devices. The Microsoft Deployment Toolkit is available as a free download, and it allows you to not only automate the update process, but you can add task sequences to automate other tasks that may need to be performed during the upgrade process. Upgrading in place means that users will have a better initial experience with the device configuration. Upgrading in place means that users will have a better initial experience with the device configuration, because their documents, apps and settings will be maintained. While Wipe and Reload was the preferred OS upgrade approach prior to Windows 10, changes to the upgrade process means that there are fewer scenarios where you should be considering this option. One of the key scenarios where Wipe and Reload would be required is when moving from a 32-bit to 64-bit installation. Previously, switching from BIOS to UEFI, which is required to enable additional hardware security features that Windows 10 can leverage, also required a wipe and reload. However, Microsoft has released an OEM agnostic tool that will perform the disk changes that are required, but you will still need to change the details in the firmware to switch from one mode to another. For smaller environments, relying on the per-device reports that can be generated for compatibility assessment may be a useful option, but once the device numbers start increasing, this approach doesn't scale very well. A recommendation is to look at Windows Analytics Upgrade Readiness, which is covered in much more detail in the Assessing Your Existing Environment video, but a brief description will follow. Windows Analytics is a cloud-based service available free of charge to Windows 10 Pro users to leverage upgrade readiness. It helps to identify apps, drivers and hardware inside the organization that could be problematic, and allows you to choose which machines should be upgraded first. We can get reports on machines that won't upgrade, those that are ready to upgrade, and those that are still being reviewed. Guidance is also provided around determining what the focus apps and drivers should be for testing purposes, so that you can unblock large numbers of devices faster using the large amount of telemetry data that powers this solution. For this demonstration, we'll be focusing on Windows 10 deployment options that are presented in the Microsoft 365 Business Admin Center. The first Windows 10 deployment option that we'll take a look at in Microsoft 365 Business is deploying with Autopilot. As we take a look through Autopilot, we can see here a list of the details of the machines that we've got the ability to start targeting. And in this case, we could go through and we could add devices by uploading captured information from a CSV file, or if we've got an OEM that we work closely with, we can also go through and get that data pre-populated into our environment. Now, once we've got these machines added, you can see that we can start putting them into device groups, and we can also start adding different types of profiles to them. So if we jump across and take a look at profiles, what you'll see here is I can create a new profile, we can give it a name, and really all we're doing here is setting a couple of options. So do we want to skip the privacy settings? So what that really means is that we're going through and pushing out our corporate settings to the device based on decisions that we as the organization have made. So it's not saying that we're setting good or bad privacy settings, it's saying that we have set the privacy settings through mobile device management as required by our organization. Now the second option here, don't allow the user to become the local admin. So this is something so that even though we're providing a self-service experience for the users to be able to sign in and have all of these capabilities, the apps, the profiles, etc. assigned, we don't necessarily want them being being a local admin. That's what we're really trying to move away from in a lot of cases. So we can very easily go through and start having Autopilot kick in, and we've got a full session dedicated to Windows Autopilot where you'll actually get to see a full run through of the Autopilot experience with policies, profiles, enterprise state roaming, and applications being deployed. I don't need to save that, so I'll just hit cancel and we'll go back to the home screen so that we can take a look at the other option for deploying Windows 10, which is really this additional tile here, the Windows 10 upgrade. So with this Windows 10 upgrade, what we've got here is the option to go through and effectively share a download link with someone. So if someone's working in a remote location and we're confident that we trust them enough to be able to do an in-place upgrade themselves, we could do that. But alternatively, the install upgrade, so downloading Windows 10 Pro or creating the installation media, it's really going to be going through and effectively both will point us through to some documentation, grabbing the ISO so that we could then either use the ISO or create boot media. And then obviously there's going to be some troubleshooting information. So it's really a pretty simple option to go through and do this, but it's not something that's going to scale if you do need to do a very large number of devices. So that's where using tools such as the Microsoft Deployment Toolkit could be useful for you. You've seen that there are several approaches that can be taken for deploying Windows 10. The size and complexity of the environment may require additional steps to be taken to gather the information required for a smooth migration, and in those cases, tools such as Windows Analytics can become very useful.